Well, what is that going to lead to in our society?
The greatest depression that's coming along the line. Go back to the Great Depression. I'll tell you why it's worse. Back then, the government had trade surpluses. We had balanced trade. We didn't have negative. We were in the positive. The consumer wasn't $14 trillion worth of debt. It's a whole different story. And back then, when we got out of the Depression, what got us out? World War II, a manufacturing capacity. We don't have that anymore.
Productivity right now is so much greater, infinitely greater than it was back then in terms of what computers can do. We're not going to have a dust bowl because we have the GPS systems that allow farmers to farm in the right way and everything.
We don't have the productive capacity. We were a manufacturing giant back then. Now everything is coming from somewhere else. So we rebuilt the world during the war and after the war.
But that's only a problem if we have protectionism, which you say we are going to start to have.
It's already happening. We see tariffs on Chinese tires, on tubing. Over 200 trade barriers have been put up around the world. As economies decline, trade barriers are going to go up. Not made in China is going to become a mantra in the not-too-distant future.
So we're going to have the kind of protectionist barriers that, because we don't have a manufacturing base anymore in the United States, are going to lead to shortages, terrible shortages here in the United States.
That could very well happen.
What turns it around? I mean, longer term, you're still worried about deficits. You're still worried about the debt that this country has, right? I mean, you think
gigantic spending in Washington, incompetence in Washington, where they don't know what's going on. They're making our situation worse. I see nothing to turn the dollar around.
What do you mean incompetence in Washington? Where's the most incompetence? What would you like to see done differently?
Well, you know what I'd like to see done differently. I'd like to see them abolish the Fed, and then they could all resign. Maybe we better abolish the Treasury Department the way things are going right now. Maria, the Federal Reserve has tripled its balance sheet full of garbage, which you and I are going to have to pay for, and everybody watching this show. They have gone out and printed gigantic amounts of money. Why do we want the Fed? They're making the situation disastrous for all of us.
So I guess you don't think Bernanke should be reconfirmed?
Oh, please. You're bad for my nervous system. Of course not.
Okay, what about Tim Geithner? I mean, Treasury as well has been putting out all of this stimulus, and now they're talking about extending the TARP program.
Maria, Mr. Geithner is a very smart person, so I understand, but he's been wrong about everything for the last 15 years. Why are we listening to Mr. Geithner? Why are we listening to any of those guys down there? They're making our situation worse. They said in writing yesterday, the solution to our problem is to spend more money to spend us out of this. I mean, that's what got us into this problem. Too much debt, too much consumption, and now we're going to solve it with more debt and more consumption. That's like saying to Tiger Woods, you get another girlfriend and you'll solve your problems. Or 5 more girlfriends and you'll solve your problems.
Jim, can I start off by asking you why you think the equity markets are not responding to the stabilization plans that are being introduced around the world at the moment?
Because they're absurd. Jeff, we have people... If I had come on your show every week for 100 weeks in a row and everything I said to you was wrong, would you keep me on your show? Would you have any confidence in me? Would you listen to me? Mr. Paulson, Mr. Bernanke, and the guy at the New York Fed, Tim somebody, every week they have been dead wrong. Why would you listen to them? I wouldn't listen to them. I find it outrageous that anybody has to step in and bail out a bunch of 29-year-olds driving Maseratis. What about all the people in countries that minded their manners, saved their money, didn't get overextended, and now all of a sudden they're being asked to bail out a bunch of guys on Wall Street who were incompetent at best and some of them crooks? I find it outrageous. But by the way, even if it's not outrageous, the way to solve this problem is to let people go bankrupt. All of this pumping money into the system is not going to save it. You see what the market is saying. The market says, we don't buy that. Let people go bankrupt, then you will hit bottom, and then you will start over. The people who are sound will take over the assets from the people who are unsound, and we will start over. This is the way the world has worked for a few thousand years.
Yeah, but Jim, we do want an orderly restructuring of the financial economy. We don't actually want to throw lots of people out of jobs because we have a liquidity problem in the global economy at this stage. And that's the issue here, isn't it? We don't want to go back to Depression-era economics just because we cannot manage an orderly deleveraging of the financial economy.
Jeff, we had the worst excesses we've had in the credit markets in world history. You think we just wake up one morning and say, oh, well, we had a horrible, horrible period of excess, and now everything's okay, we're just going to ignore that? We're going to have to take some pain. Jeff, Never before in world history were people able to buy houses with no money down. Many people bought 4 or 5 houses with no money down and no job. And then they did it with cars and student loans and credit card loans. You think we just say, well, that's too bad, we're going to start over, nobody loses his job? Jeff, be realistic.
Jim, what do we need from our G7 leaders this weekend?
Well, what they need to do is, you know, go down to the bar and have a beer and leave the rest of us alone. Let the people who are sound succeed and let the other people fail. And you know, Jeff, what I'm afraid of is they're going to keep doing what they've been doing, which the market hates. You can see the market hates it, because this is going to unleash rampant inflation around the world, rampant confusion in the currency markets, and you're going to have currencies gyrating all over the world. Bond markets are going to start to collapse, and then we're going to have a real problem. And that's why the stock market understands this. They're unleashing a inflationary holocaust.